the birth of modern housing, and the lessons of fair housing building the American dream. As America emerged from the Great Depression, the federal government took a much larger role in housing than ever before. The Federal Housing Administration, FHA, was created in 1934 as part of the National Housing Act. Its primary mission was to stabilize the housing market, encourage new home construction, and make mortgage financing more accessible for American families. For the first time, lenders could offer longer loan terms, lower down payments, and federally insured mortgages. These changes made homeownership possible for millions of Americans who previously could not afford to purchase a home. The program also stimulated the construction industry, creating jobs and helping rebuild the nation's economy. World War II changes America. Only a few years later, World War II dramatically changed American society. Millions of men entered military service, while factories shifted from producing consumer goods to manufacturing equipment needed for the war effort. Women entered the workforce in record numbers, filling positions that had traditionally been held by men. The famous image of Rosie the Riveter became a symbol of this transformation. When the war ended in 1945, millions of servicemen and women returned home, ready to begin the next chapter of their lives. They wanted jobs, they wanted families, and most importantly, they wanted homes. The housing boom America suddenly faced an enormous housing shortage. Entire suburban communities were built almost overnight to meet the growing demand. One of the best-known examples was Leadtown, where large-scale residential construction introduced affordable suburban housing to thousands of returning veterans. The GI Bill helped many veterans obtain low-interest home loans, attend college, and receive job training, creating one of the largest periods of homeownership growth in American history. Unfortunately, not every veteran received the same opportunities. Although the law itself was written broadly, discriminatory lending practices and local policies often prevented many minority veterans from receiving equal access to housing and mortgage financing. The history of redlining. One of the most significant housing practices to emerge during this period became known as redlining. Government maps and lending policies identified certain neighborhoods as higher lending risks. In many cases, neighborhoods with minority populations were outlined in red, making it difficult or even impossible for residents to obtain federally backed mortgage financing. As a result, many families were denied opportunities to purchase homes, build equity, or accumulate generational wealth. Today, redlining is widely recognized as a discriminatory practice that contributed to long-term housing inequality. Modern fair housing laws prohibit discrimination in mortgage lending, housing availability, and many other real estate activities. Understanding this history helps explain why fair housing enforcement remains such an important priority today. Fair housing has changed the profession. The real estate industry has learned many important lessons over the past century. Practices that were once common, including racial deed restrictions, steering, and discriminatory advertising, are now prohibited under federal fair housing laws. Today's real estate professionals are expected to provide equal professional service to every consumer, regardless of race, color, religion, sex, disability, familial status, national origin, or any additional protected classes recognized under Arizona law. The profession has evolved from one that often reflected society's discrimination to one that actively promotes equal housing opportunity. Real-world broker scenario. A buyer's agent sends a text message to the listing agent advising that the home inspector will arrive at the property on Tuesday at 1 p.m. The listing agent responds, "You forgot to include the equal housing opportunity logo in your text." Is the listing agent correct? Answer, no. The equal housing opportunity logo is intended for advertising residential real estate or real estate services. A text message between licensees coordinating a transaction is not an advertisement. HUD's advertising guidance encourages use of the equal housing opportunity logo, statement, or slogan in advertisements for residential housing. Routine transaction communications between brokers are not considered advertising. Real-world broker scenario. A real estate licensee owns an owner-occupied property with a detached studio apartment. The licensee wants to advertise, "Studio apartment for rent, single tenants only." The licensee believes the owner-occupied exemption allows this advertisement. Is the advertisement permitted? Answer, no. While the Fair Housing Act contains limited exemptions in certain owner-occupied situations, those exemptions generally do not allow discriminatory advertising. Additionally, when a real estate licensee is involved in the rental or advertisement of a property, fair housing advertising requirements still apply. Publishing an advertisement that expresses a preference for a protected class may violate federal fair housing law. The safest practice is to advertise the features of the property, not the type of person you hope will rent it. Broker tip. Whenever you're unsure whether advertising language is appropriate, ask yourself one simple question. Am I describing the property, or am I describing the people I want to live there? If you're describing the people instead of the property, revise the advertisement before publishing it. Online discussion question. Why is redlining considered one of the most significant examples of housing discrimination in American history? Answer. Redlining denied many minority families access to mortgage financing and homeownership opportunities based on neighborhood demographics rather than financial qualifications. Its effects influenced housing patterns for generations. Question. How did the GI Bill contribute to the growth of homeownership after World War II? Answer. The GI Bill provided eligible veterans with education benefits, job training, and affordable home loan opportunities, fueling one of the largest housing booms in American history. Question. What lesson should today's Arizona real estate professionals take from the history of discriminatory housing practices? Licensees should understand that fair housing laws exist to ensure equal housing opportunities for everyone. Every client should receive the same professional service, regardless of any protected characteristic.